Okay, it's Henry again, and this is my, not really review, but my final video for the 1:100 scale Taurus project. And this video I'm just going to go over everything that I did in terms of building and painting the kit, and just sort of a general overview of the process from start to finish. Anyway, as I said in the work in progress videos, this was an extremely rare resin kit that I've been looking for years and have never been able to find one for sale. However, I did know somebody, a friend that lives overseas, that did have one, and I asked him if I could borrow the kit, make a recast of it, and then send the kit back to him, and he very thankfully agreed. So that is how I came about obtaining this kit. Here is a piece of the original kit. I believe this was a JAFCON exclusive. JAFCON is a hobby show that they used to have in Japan that's not around anymore. Can't remember what year. I'm thinking maybe 96, I think. But this is the piece of the original kit. And this is one of the parts that I recast. This is just one of the spares that had a few defects that I didn't want to use for the final version, but that's one of my recasts. So even there you can see like there's a difference in the shade of resin, and obviously the casting quality on the original is a lot better than mine. There's not nearly as many bubbles and imperfections, more than likely because they used a pressure pot and a vacuum chamber for theirs. So as far as things you get with the kit, you obviously get the Taurus, and then each Taurus I made two copies of the same kit, but the Taurus comes with a beam rifle and a beam cannon. And originally this kit was meant to be posable. It had posable elbow joints and knee joints. I ran into some issues with the actually I created some scratch-built knee and elbow joints, and those weren't nearly as stable as I would like them to have been. So I just made fixed pose elbow and knee joints that are basically just solid blocks of plastic, and then shaped those to look like the joints in the line art. But the recasting process on these two kits was pretty tedious. It took a lot longer than I originally intended, and I ended up making them fixed pose just so they would be a lot more stable, because it doesn't really bother me because I don't pose my kits a whole lot once I'm done with them. They just stand on a shelf, and I think they look perfectly fine just standing there. I decided to give the beam rifle to the Saint Kingdom Taurus and the beam cannon to the Oz Taurus, just so I could have one with one weapon and one with the other. And let's see, as far as paint goes, I just did my standard paint job, a little bit of subtle pre-shading, and a relatively flat top coat. For the white parts, I basically just used Mr. Color GX White. Black parts, GX Black. The red parts, I actually used this Nazca color Flame Red. This is an extraordinarily bright red paint, and I love it to death. I'm not sure I'm going to use any red paint other than that from now on, unless I actually need a darker red. For the purple parts, I mixed up a custom purple. This is a pretty dark purple, basically just red and blue and a couple other colors, and then highlighted them with this Gundam Color Dom purple. And as far as top coat goes, I used All Clad Clear Matte. So it's not quite as flat as their flat coat. It's about halfway between semi-gloss and flat. And decals, I used some third-party decals for pretty much the entire kit. I used some Wave X decals for the big letters on the shoulders, and used some Pooh's Modeling Work decals for all the caution markings. And then the yellow Oz symbol, Oz Space Forces symbol on the shoulder there, that actually came from Samuel Decal from his Mercurius and V8 decal set. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the way these turned out. They look very, very nice. Very line art accurate. And the proportions are good, I think. The shoulders might be a little bit wide proportion-wise, but not enough to really bother me too much. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, the mono eyes. It doesn't come with clear jewels. I had to make those by hand. What I did, well, I've done this for several, in fact, all of my Oz Project mobile suits, is that I've basically go to Walmart and get one of those packs of little clear acrylic jewels. They come in a bunch of different colors. And I basically just cut them down with a hobby saw, because acrylic is a really tough plastic. Acrylic is very, very hard. So a hobby knife is going to take you forever. I don't recommend that. Use a hobby saw to cut it down into the shape that you need. In my case, square, obviously. And then I just use sandpaper to sand it down into a nice sort of a rounded dome shape. It's got a little bit of curvature to it on the top. And the jewels I was using were just clear, so I used sprayed clear yellow on top of it. And it had, the reason I like using those acrylic jewels is because they have that silver coating on the bottom that gives it that reflectivity. So that's a technique I've been using for 2 or 3 years for making custom camera lenses on Gunpla kits. You can use sets like Wave makes the HI set, and there are several other third parties that make camera lenses, but my technique takes a bit more work, but you can customize it to any shape or size that you need, so it's useful for that. And I think that's about everything that needs to be gone over. All of this stuff can be seen in more detail in my work in progress videos, so if you want more of a look into the building and painting process, you can go back and watch those. So I'm going to wrap up here with a quick photo slideshow showing off some photos of the kits, and with that, I'll see you guys next time.